13 through 18. It says, when tempted, no one should say, God has tempted me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each one is tempted by his own evil desires. He is dragged away and enticed. And after the desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's fully grown, gives birth to death. That's exactly what, see, look, God, he was evil. He wouldn't allow us to happen. So he gives us this temptation. My temptation is, see, God wouldn't allow this to happen. And then it gives birth to sin. And it goes further. And then what does that give birth to? Death. See how Satan does that? And what do? We blame God for it. How come nobody blames Satan for any of this? Isn't that something? You ever notice that? Nobody ever blames Satan. It's always God. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty ironic how people are like that. Let's go to verse 5. Back in Genesis. Verse 5. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. This is exactly a lot of stuff we hear right now, that we will be like God. The exact same thing, you will be like God. All right? Now, there's no doubt about it. Satan uses truth here in his words, like all false teachers do. That's exactly what he's doing. He's right. Their eyes were open, and their own sin and rebellion, okay, they became very aware of their sin and rebellion. He was right about that. Yeah. Your eyes will be opened. Did he lie about that? Huh? So he puts some truth in what he's saying.
He puts yeast in the dough.
So he says, when you become like a God, knowing good from evil, it's kind of like an innocent child who he's talking to, like, you know, he's talking to like an innocent child. What's a child? A child knows right from wrong, but when they do something wrong, they don't necessarily know what they did wrong. Right? They just know they did something wrong. Right? So that's what they became. So it wasn't they were becoming like God. That's what we hear now. So much false teachers that we are like God. Okay? That's what they're saying now. I'm like God. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little Christ. You hear all these definitions. You know what I'm saying? You will be little gods. Everybody wants to be a God. Okay? That's what Satan's trying to tell them. Look, you'll be like God. Okay? Pretty tempting. Now, you're saying why would they be deceived? How could she be deceived if they're perfect? Well, wasn't Satan perfect when he was? Okay? Now, when you have somebody comes deceiving and starts telling you, you know that God? Yeah. If you do that, you'll be like him. You know, start thinking about that. You have to go in your head. Wait, I could be like God?
Right.
See how tempting that is? It's kind of like this. Think of it like another term. Okay? You're worth $100, and someone says, see that $1 million? You can have that.
Right. Just
take that $1 million.
Of course you would. Anybody would.
Well, you either want to run from that or you can start concentrating on that. Really? You start thinking, wait, what can I do with that $1 million? Same thing.
Right.
Now, here's Eve. Imagine that. See what I'm saying? She's going to think, wait, I can be like God. See the temptation, what he's done? Right. He's gotten to the point where he goes, now you can be just like God. Who doesn't want to be like God? Right. I don't want to be like God. No way do I want that responsibility. But could you imagine if you saw the presence of God and all that power, and then you have somebody deceiving like that and building this up, you can be like God? Who else want to be like God? Satan himself. That's what he said. I want to be like God. All right. Knowing good from evil. Yeah, it's the same thing like we see now. I want to mention that. It's the exact same thing we see kind of going now where people want to be, everybody wants to be like God. The New Age movement. We are all gods. Okay? If I'm to be like God, I'm my own self. And so that's what he's saying. Look, that's one thing. If you're going to be like God, I don't need God. And I am God. So that's what he's saying. You can be, if you're being like God, you're God. And you don't need that God. You can have your own, and that's what we do. So in a sense that,
well, it's the first time for idolatry and put yourself before God.
There you go. You know what I'm saying? The exact same thing Satan did. He tried to set himself up to be God. We see the exact same thing now. People claiming, I'm God.
You make up your own rules.
You make up your own rules.
Your own life.
Right.
Yeah.
And, self-independence and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like saying, when we say, God, saying, no, I don't need a savior. That's what, that's what's going on. It's the exact same thing now. So everything we see here.
That doesn't change even nowadays.
Right.
That's so rampant.
Right. So if I want to be like God, that would mean I don't need to be a savior. There's all kinds of, not only do I have the power of God, I don't need a savior. See what I'm saying?
I'll do what I want.
From the very beginning. So from the very beginning, what has he done? He's added to he got Eve to add to the Word of God. false doctrine, being deceived by spirits, okay? And then got to the point where you can be like God and convinced her of this. Look, I can be
So that she put herself before God.
just like God. All right, yeah, we're going to do verse 6. Okay, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasuring the eyes, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. So one thing, what was he? He obviously was there with her. We're going to look at that. We're going to kind of look at, that's the whole thing. So Adam was there with her. Okay, so what verse am I on?
6.
Okay, so yeah, so we see, so Eve continued to listen to Satan. So she gave into temptation, and she did exactly what we see in 1 John. So what's happening here is the exact same thing we see right now. Go to 1 John chapter 2. Verses 1 John chapter 2, 16, I'll go 15 through 17. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For everything in the world, the cravings of the simple man, the lust of his eyes, and the boasting of what he has and does comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but man who does the will of God lives forever. So right off, we see exactly what we see right there. There's a spirit of Antichrist. The spirit of John, 1 John talks about the spirit of Antichrist starting out right off. Spirit of Antichrist right off, right there. So what was it? The lust of the world. So she's already seen the lust of the world. That's exactly, see what it says back, and go back into Genesis. Verse 6. The woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for pleasure to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom. She took some and ate it. See, so she was already going, right? Just like the things of the world. So what she's seeing, the things of the world. This is like we see now. And the wisdom of the world. We're trying to gain the wisdom of the world and the pleasures of the world. And that's exactly the cravings. So already, that's what she's doing. She's seeing the cravings of the world. See? The pleasures of it. That's what sin does. She takes her eyes and now she gets the lust of the world. That's exactly what's going on there. And what she's seeing right there, as soon as, now here's another thing too we have to understand. As soon as this happened, it leaves her unsatisfied. Okay? Sin always is unsatisfied. How do you know that? You know, here's something, think about this. When it says, come to me and you'll never thirst again. What does that mean? Because you ever notice, we have to continue to do something. When we sin, we think we're satisfied. But then why do we have to keep doing it again?
Because you're not satisfied.
No, I'm not satisfied. I just get satisfied for this moment.
More of it.
Right. So I'm satisfied for a moment, and I got to keep going back. Right? But see, with God, I don't have to do that. I don't have to keep going back. I'm always satisfied. So when the cravings of the world, the reason I'm not satisfied is I have to continue my lust of my mind, my lust of whatever it is. You can see the addictions. It's so big on addictions. You know, here you are. Oh, I'm satisfied now. I drink or I do whatever it is, drugs to that point, and then the next day I got to do the same thing all over again, or the next week, or whatever it is. Okay, I'm never satisfied. Okay, never have enough money. How is it that you have billions of dollars but you need more money? So I'm never satisfied. See, oh, I'm very happy. Oh, you're happy for temporary. That's what it's referring to. That's Satan's way. That's what he did there. He got that you're not satisfied. See, in the garden they had everything they needed. They were more than satisfied. But now Satan got them for, See, the desires of sin is temporary, and then you need more and more. So that's what happened. Now what does that do? Puts confusion. If I'm not satisfied, I get confused, right? Isn't that what happens? That's why we're always confused. Until we get our glorified bodies, that'll all be gone. We'll be totally satisfied. We're not completely satisfied. You know, even our stomachs are always, you know, I have to eat, and then I have to eat an hour later. You know what I'm saying, or whatever it is. We're never satisfied. It's all part of the fallen creation. All right. Another thing too, we got to look. Eve was. It was Eve who was completely deceived. Adam wasn't deceived. We're going to look at it real quick.
Wow.
1 Timothy, 1 Timothy 2:14.
So it says, you're telling me Eve was deceived, but Adam was not. Eve flat out did it, huh?
Well, that's the whole thing we're going to look at. 1 Timothy 2:14. And Adam was not the one deceived. It was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner. All right? So we see Adam, he was there but he wasn't deceived by Satan at all. Okay?
He knew the truth.
He knew the truth, and he wasn't deceived. But yet, he was there. Okay? Why? See, there's no excuse for Adam because it was a direct command given to who? It wasn't given to who? Who was the command not to eat from the tree? Who was it given to? Adam, not Eve, was it?
No.
Okay? So, then, why was Eve probably deceived by the word? Because she didn't get the command. It was given to Adam. Whose responsibility was to teach to his wife?
Adam.
Adam. Who didn't do that? Adam wasn't deceived by it. I know the command of God. Okay?
Wow, that's bad.
Okay? Now, Adam was there with her. Why didn't, okay? But this just goes to show you, this is the downfall of, when we see this whole thing, this whole sin nature, the downfall of men. Men, nowadays, from this right here, they don't take their responsibility in the household. See?
Yeah, Corey.
See how that happens? See? So this is all significant of shadows of things come. So what happens? The man who's authority. God gave Adam, because she came from Adam. Here, look. You were to take care of her. You're to love her. Okay. You were to teach her my command. You are the spiritual leader. But now when we have the women are the spiritual leaders, the women are the providers. That's not what God ever made it. The man sat back like he's sitting back. Like now think about it. We see this all the time. Men sitting back while their wives doing everything. They're sitting back there like a little mouse. That kind of see Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, the woman that you gave me.
That's true. We're going to look at that.
That's what I would have done. I would have sold you down the river.
Yeah, you would have. I would have done like,
So that's why Adam, the point is that's why Adam, if we look at Romans 5:12, someone go to Romans 5:12.
Well, that's the breakup of the family right there, is the attack of the men.
Well, this whole thing is, when we get further on, we'll see this sinful nature of both. So we see Adam, he was right there, and so therefore, what does it say in 5:12? Romans.
Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all men because all sinned.
Right. So it came through Adam. If Adam wasn't the one who was deceived and didn't sin, why? Because it was given the command. It wasn't Eve. Eve didn't break command. Who did? Adam. Because the command was given to him.
That's insane.
See what I'm saying? Even though Eve was deceived.
Insane to the truth.
Okay? See what I'm talking about? So, there's a lot of things. In general, you'll see, you ever notice, think about this. How this all works. Men easily manipulate, you see this all the time in society, they manipulate women.
Yes.
Why? Because women are easily deceived. From the beginning, they're easily, I'm not saying all women, don't get me wrong. Not all women are deceived, but generally, men are good manipulators. Okay? They know how to manipulate women. Okay? They get them where, I'm going to sit home and watch TV all day. You're going to go out and work. See what I'm saying? You'll be this. How is it that, it's funny, you go to church, most of the women go to church, their husband go to church, and the woman's teaching the husband.
Right.
But that's not what God ever intended. The woman's teaching the kids how to, the spiritual thing. The man is the spiritual leader. Okay? The man's supposed to be that, but do we see that happen? I'm not saying that women aren't supposed to be spiritual guiders or alter their children. I'm not saying that. But who is that supposed to be the head of the house? But so now what we see is Adam didn't do that. He was right there and allowed her to do that. And probably why, you're just saying, why would he allow her to do that command? Because it's just like a lot of men, they'll just let their wife do anything they want. He loved her so much, I really want this, Adam, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to give an example, somewhere relate to. Okay, instead of saying he was authority, this is the command of God. No, he didn't play spiritual leader.
Right.
He was letting her be deceived and let her go on to do that. Just like men do now. This, whatever. I'm not going to, I'll let her do what she wants.
Just to keep her happy.
Keep her happy. I don't want, you see what I'm saying? Because we're going to get later on in that because of the conflict between men and women. It all started right here from the beginning, okay? Back in Genesis. Now, another thing too, what we want to look at, and this is, here we're going to see a shadow of something to come. Verse 6 still, verse 6.